Hey, Pastor, doesn't science disprove the Bible?
Isn't Genesis just a fairy tale?
Is God for real? Did he really create everything in 6 literal days?
Didn't God just use the Big Bang?
Why is there death and suffering? Do you really believe the Bible?
Didn't man evolve from apes?
For answers to these questions and more, stand by for Believing the Bible.
Welcome to Believing the Bible. This is Scott Lane with Terry Reed, Dr. Daniel Harris, and our producer Ed Salzadell, all directors at the San Antonio Bible-Based Science Association. We are here to reassure you can believe the Bible from the very first verse. We have a very special guest today, Dr. Randy Guluizza, who is now President and Chief Operating Officer with the Institute of Creation Research, now centered in the Dallas, Texas area. Randy has a unique background, having been an engineer and is now a medical doctor. And so he can give a very unique perspectives and looks at the human body and life itself from those two very disparate disciplines and attitudes. Randy and his beautiful wife, June, were once direct with us at SABSA because he was also in the military for some period of time. He retired in 2008 as a lieutenant colonel out of the Air Force. He had served 9 years as a Navy Civil Engineer Corps, and also serves as the 28th Bomb Wing Flight Surgeon and Chief of Aerospace Medicine. Randy, you got a set of degrees, a BS in Engineering, South Dakota School of Mines and Technology, a BA from Moody Bible Institute, an MD from the University of Minnesota, and a Master's of Public Health from Harvard. I haven't gone to that many schools in my life.
Well, thank you so very much. I'm so glad to be back and hear all your voices.
Excellent. I think you had a unique road to where you're at today. What first got you into just an interest in creation science? Give a great testimony of how your wife, her influence brought you to Christ. In your youth, you weren't into creationism. What brought you there?
Well, after I became a Christian, June and I felt that the Lord was leading us into ministry. And I had a wonderful pastor who was doing discipleship with me every Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. And he suggested that maybe we should consider going to Moody Bible Institute and getting some Bible training so that we could go into the ministry. Unfortunately, when I went off to Moody, I still held on to a lot of the evolutionary teaching that I had learned in high school. I was a believer. I love the Lord Jesus Christ, and I gave my testimony in order to get into Moody. But unfortunately, nobody had given me any kind of instruction regarding creation up to that time. So I firmly believed in evolution, believe it or not, because I didn't know any better. Then one afternoon at the library at Moody Bible Institute, while walking through the magazine racks, I happened upon a little half-folded sheet called Acts and Facts. Oh, yeah. And this was about 1980. And I had been an engineering student before I transferred to Moody, so I liked science, and I saw that this little half-folded, basically a news magazine, dealt with science and the Bible. So I took it back to those little cubicles at the library where everybody kind of sits and reads. And I read 2 articles. One on the origin of life, written by a man named Dwayne Gish, and the other was on the fact that when you look at a fossil and you look at its living counterpart today, you see very, very little change, and we would call that stasis. But it's this phenomenon that you don't see much evolution between a fossil and its living counterpart. And that was also written by Dr. Dwayne Gish. These articles were very concise, they were very well written, and they had a lot of good evidence. And when I read those 2 articles, I sat in that booth just totally stunned. Absolutely stunned, because I knew what I had just read was true, and that things that I had been taught about evolution were wrong. So I didn't have a really, really long conversion from evolution to creation. It was almost like bang, instantaneous. And it was like the Lord opened my mind, and this was true. And from that point on, I was very, very interested in creation science. In fact, I finally had a glimpse of what I knew the Lord wanted me to do, and that was to go into creation science. So my conversion started with picking up that magazine, Acts and Facts, which I now know, and I found out, is published by the Institute for Creation Research and was the flagship news magazine for our organization, and it is still going strong. And that point led to my conversion to creation.
I would recommend to people, and I do all the time, that they get a subscription to Acts and Facts. It's free, and for a free publication, I think it is by far the best free publication available in the creation science realm. You mentioned something there about both of those things that you read being written by Dr. Dwayne Gish.
Yeah.
Earlier today, we had the tapings with Dave and Mary Jo Nutting of the Alpha Omega Institute, who talked about the mentorship they had with Dr. Gish. I had that honor to be mentored by him, and I know you did as well.
Yes. Dr. Gish was really one of the co-founders of the Institute for Creation Research, which was founded by Dr. Henry M. Morris, Jr., who co-authored a very, very influential book called The Genesis Flood with Dr. John Whitcomb. That offered a very concise and compelling alternate explanation for the geology that you see, and the explanation was based on the worldwide flood of Noah. And based on that book, really that was the beginning of what people call the modern creation science movement, of which the Institute for Creation Research was born, and that was actually 50 years ago this month. And so we're celebrating our 50th anniversary. So Dr. Henry Morris, Jr. started ICR, but very, very soon after starting it, he enlisted the help of Dr. Dwayne Gish, who was a biochemist and came over from the Upjohn Company out of Michigan and came down to San Diego, and was both essentially Dr. Henry Morris and Dr. Dwayne Gish were co-founders of ICR and the main leaders of it during its early years. They each had their own unique gifts and skills, and as you mentioned, one of the gifts that Dr. Gish had was to come alongside people and to mentor them and to help them and to really encourage them to pick up the baton, start running in the creation science history, which he did for me as well.
You're listening to Believing the Bible. This is Scott Lane with Terry Reed, Dr. Daniel Harris, and our producer, Ed Salzville. If you would like to learn more, go to sabsa.org. That is sabbsa.org. Today, we are happy to have Dr. Randy Guluizza, the President and Chief Operating Officer with the Institute for Creation Research. If people want to get an excellent resource about creation science and biblical apologetics, go to ICR.org. That is the website for the Institute of Creation Research. Again, that's ICR.org. Randy, in the first part of the program, you related to us your journey to becoming a creationist, and you then had a leading to get with ICR. You weren't accepted with the first time that you tried to get on with them. Is that correct?
No. Yes, that's correct. I heard about ICR when I was a student at Moody Bible Institute, and then I knew that's what the Lord wanted me to do for the calling. And I would encourage young people today to ask the Lord to show you what His calling for you is. Mm-hmm. It can be any kind of job, any kind of service, but if you ask, He'll show you. Then you can let that calling be the guide in your life for making all kinds of decisions of your job, your education, and so forth. And I did that. After I read Acts and Facts and I thought the Lord was leading me into creation science ministry, I called Dr. Henry Morris, who was the founder, and he recommended that I go back and finish my engineering degree. And I did that, and I spent some time in the Navy, and I was ready to get out, having had a degree in theology and licensed as an engineer and so forth, and wanted to work for ICR. And I spoke to Dr. Gish at that time. This was about 1990, and he recommended that I learn biology and get a doctorate. So the door was closed on me at that time. So I applied to medical school, learned some biology, got a doctorate, and the Lord had me learn a lot of other useful things in medicine at the time, and served some time in the Air Force. They sent me to Harvard University to get a master's in public health. And then I reapplied or re-asked to work for ICR towards the end of my time in the Air Force, again, being mentored by Dr. Gish, who was calling me and encouraging me to do that. And I was accepted on the staff at ICR in 2008. So from the time I picked up the Acts and Facts, about 1980, until 2008 was 28 years from the time I knew that the Lord wanted me to go into creation science till I started to work for ICR. But it was a long, circuitous route, but the Lord was leading in every step, on every step of the way. And all of those degrees that I got and all of that education has been very, very useful for this ministry.
It's a fascinating story, and you can see God leading, and I thank you for that. The Institute for Creation Research has, and I believe still is, the leader in the creation science field, especially the leader in terms of research. Y'all have completed a long and valued RAPE project, the FAST project. You have investigations into genetics, soft tissue fossils, geology, paleoclimatology, and many more. What kind of excitement do you have being a part of that?
Oh, it's a huge thrill, and thank you, Scott, for covering all of those areas of research. And every one of those is very, very important. And to be a part of the research is really exciting. You use the right word, exciting, but it also gives you a strong sense of purpose that you're doing research, but you're really doing it for a very, very important purpose. And that is that you're uncovering evidences which really do confirm the Bible's narratives on the worldwide flood and the creation of life.
We really thank you for your efforts in the creation science field, and we really feel a great comfort zone with knowing that there's someone that we know, value, and trust is now at the helm of this flagship organization.
Well, thank you much. It's been a long journey, and then working here for the last 12 years before I took over this new job as president was also very, very good training, and allowed us, and who knows, maybe we'll get an opportunity to speak about this some more, to branch out into some new areas of research, not so much focusing on geology this time, but on biology.
Believing the Bible now has a new way you can support our ministry and get some great gifts. For a donation of $10 or more, we will email you a copy of Repetition in the Bible by Jack Cassione, which shows the Bible to be a self-proving document and shows God's protection of His Word over the ages. For a donation of $25 or more, we will also mail you a copy of Scott Lane's book, What If God Wrote the Bible, showing 6 things we should find in the world and in the Bible if God is the author of the Bible. To get these great gifts, send your check or money order to SABSA at 7620 Avery, Live Oak, Texas, 78233. That's SABBSA at 7620 Avery Road, Live Oak, Texas, 78233. This information for ordering is also on our contact page at sabsa.org. Information for creation events in our area are on our website's calendar page. For more information or to schedule a presentation, go to sabsa.org or call 210-599-7240. When you go to our website, you can click on a link to our newsletter. Our website has a link for contact information on which you can order our newsletter to be emailed to you, or you can call us. Also go to whyshouldyoubelieve.com. That is Terry's website containing articles looking at current day issues from a biblical perspective. SABSA meets the second Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. We are now meeting at Faith Lutheran Church just south of the corner of Jones Maltzberger and Thousand Oaks. There you will find biblical apologetics and creation science teaching found nowhere else in Bexar County, as well as the availability of books and videos on these important subjects. If you missed any part of this show, you can listen to this show anytime by going to the AM 630 KSLR, the Word in South Texas website. Click on KSLR Podcast, scroll down until you find Believing the Bible. Please join us again next Saturday for Believing the Bible. I'm Scott Lane, and for Terry Reed, Dr. Carl Williams, and Ed Salzveld, thanks for listening, and we hope you found today a reason to believe the Bible.